My husband loved me deeply. Fearing that childbirth would harm my body, he secretly gave me an infertility potion. But the Shen family had only one son in each generation. The family line could not be broken. So he had to wrong himself, toiling day after day with his mistress to sow his seed. Seeing him so exhausted, my heart ached. And so, with one swift cut, I ended it. No one would ever force my husband to have children again. After 3 years of marriage, I remained childless. The moment the renowned physician my mother-in-law had invited placed her fingers on my wrist, I had a bad feeling. As expected, her brow furrowed deeper and deeper. After a long while, she withdrew her hand. Your ladyship's body has been invaded by a dark poison, and your womb is damaged. It is impossible for you to ever conceive in this life. My mother-in-law fainted on the spot. I stood there, my hands and feet ice cold. That night, the Shen residence was in chaos. I stood outside my mother-in-law's courtyard, listening to the sound of cups and bowls being smashed inside. The Shen family has only one son in each generation. If you do not take a concubine, you are ending the Shen line. What face will I have to meet your father? To meet the ancestors of the Shen family after I die? My mother-in-law's cries were heart-wrenching. What does it matter if we have no children? Shen Yunshuo's voice was firm. In this life, I only want a Luan. You insolent creature! Her angry shouts were accompanied by the shrill sound of shattering porcelain. How dare you say such a rebellious thing? Get to the ancestral hall and kneel. Repent to our ancestors. The argument ended abruptly. The door was pushed open. Shen Yunshuo strode out, his face grim, a trickle of blood on his forehead. When he saw me under the veranda, he stopped. Aluin. He hurried to my side and took my cold hands. The night is cold and damp. Why are you standing here alone? I looked up and tears rolled down my cheeks. Husband, let us divorce. You should not, for my sake. Nonsense. He cut me off sharply, his voice trembling slightly. Aluin, but without you. His voice choked, and a tear fell onto my face. I would die. He gave me a deep, meaningful look, a look so full of love it broke my heart. Then he turned resolutely and walked toward the ancestral hall, his figure disappearing into the night. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door to my mother-in-law's room. She was slumped on the couch, having aged 10 years overnight. When she saw me, she struggled to her feet and fell from the couch. Princess? Before I could react, she had crawled to my feet, her fingers clutching the hem of my dress. The Shen family has had a single heir for 5 generations. Mother begs you, let Shuo'er take a concubine. Even a serving girl will do. The child will be registered under your name and will call you mother. You will have someone to rely on in the future. I was so startled I took a step back and reached to help her up. Mother, please get up first. But she avoided my hand and kowtowed heavily. You know how I have treated you these past 3 years. Can you bear to see the Shen family line end? Her words pained me even more. It was true. She had been very good to me. But I loved Shen Yunshuo to the bone. The mere thought of him panting over another woman made me want to kill with jealousy. To push him into another woman's bed? I truly could not do it. Mother, please rest well. I will come to see you another day. I practically fled. Behind me, I could hear her heart-rending sobs. My mother-in-law refused all food and water for 3 days. Shen Yunshuo knelt for 3 whole days. At court, officials who had always disliked me submitted memorials. The eldest princess is jealous and without virtue, a disgrace to womanhood. As a daughter of the imperial family, she should be magnanimous and a model for all women. In the tea houses and taverns, storytellers turned the matter into a joke. That Shen Yunshuo, the top scholar, was once the talk of the town. Now he is nothing but a dog kept by the princess. Indeed, he has even let his family line die out. What is the difference between that and marrying into his wife's family? When these words reached my ears, I trembled with rage. They could insult me, curse me, laugh at me. I could ignore it all. But they could not trample on my husband. My husband was the finest man in the world, the brilliant scholar who had captivated the capital at 16, the fool who, when my reputation was at its lowest, had knelt before the throne for 3 days and 3 nights, just to ask for my hand in marriage. But now, because of my selfishness, I had pushed him into this corner, forcing his mother to starve herself in protest, causing him to be condemned by his own clan, making him the laughingstock of the entire capital. I went to see him in the ancestral hall last night. His face was pale, but he still tried to comfort me. Aluin, do not be afraid. I will never let you be wronged. At that moment, my heart felt like it was being torn apart. Yes, he had been so good to me. He valued me more than his future, his reputation, more than the Shen family line. Why could I not take this one step back for him? She would be nothing but a vessel for childbirth. What was the harm in taking a concubine? I sat in my room for a day, until the candles burned out, and finally made my decision. I opened the door and walked toward the ancestral hall. It was eerily quiet. Not even a single servant on duty. Such negligence was truly improper. I suppressed my anger and was about to push the door open when I heard hushed voices from inside Shuor. Is this move not too risky? It was my mother-in-law's voice, strong and clear, not at all like someone who had not eaten for 3 days. Shen Yunshuo's tone was dismissive. Do not worry, mother. That wretch is devoted to me. A few days of this self-inflicted punishment, and she is already beside herself with pity. When she personally begs me to take a concubine, even if His Majesty asks in the future, the blame will not fall on us. My mother-in-law snorted. If not for her status as a princess, would our Shen family ever allow such a broken shoe into our home? I froze, my hand on the doorframe trembling uncontrollably. The infertility potion you gave her, are you sure it cannot be detected? A secret recipe from a previous dynasty, colorless and odorless. Shen Yunshuo chuckled. She is already full of poisons. The physicians will only conclude it is a relapse of an old ailment. We just need to continue feeding her tonics, and within a year or so, she will slowly waste away. Good! My mother-in-law exclaimed. It is just a pity for Yaner. She has been your childhood sweetheart, so devoted to you, yet now she must hide away without a name or status. Shen Yunshuo's voice suddenly softened. Yaner will understand. As soon as that wretch is dead, her dowry, her residence, will all belong to Yaner and our child, as it should be. My mother-in-law said through gritted teeth. That slut who consorted with eunuchs. I feel disgusted just looking at her. I could no longer hear the rest. I stood outside, a chilling cold seeping into my bones. My mother was a foot-washing maid. She died of a hemorrhage after giving birth to my younger brother, without even a posthumous title. In that man-eating palace, my young brother and I struggled just to survive. At our lowest point, to get a mouthful of spoiled rice and half a dose of herbs for my feverish brother, I had knelt before an old eunuch, letting his filthy hands roam over my body. This body was long since scarred and broken. Until I met Shen Yunshuo. He was my salvation, sent from heaven. He never cared about my past. After a cautious look around, he knocked a pattern of 3 short, 1 long. The door creaked open. A delicate woman had just peeked out when he pulled her into his arms. Cousin. Her voice was soft and seductive. She hung on him limply, letting his hands explore under her clothes. The door was not even fully closed as they tangled together in a desperate embrace. Cousin, how much longer must I hide? She panted beneath him. My sweet Yaner, just a little longer. As soon as you are with child, I can bring you into the residence. Shen Yunshuo's voice was hoarse with passion. Our child can then be legitimately registered under that wretch's name. When she is dead, all of this will be ours. But she is the eldest princess. If she finds out, I fear I won't even know how I died. Do not worry. She will not live past next year. Yaner will listen to you. My sweet Yaner. I have missed you so. I will not let you leave the bed tonight. They made love inside. I stood outside until dawn as the sky began to lighten. Shen Yunshuo. sated, pushed open the door. My mother-in-law had tried to hang herself. Fortunately, a servant found her in time. The residence was in chaos. It was not until midnight that some semblance of calm returned. The door opened, and Shen Yunshuo walked in, his body weary. The moment he saw me, his eyes reddened. Aluan, his voice was hoarse as he buried his face in my neck, his hot tears falling. I can't take it anymore. His shoulders trembled, his voice filled with despair. Mother is threatening to kill herself. She says if the Shen family line ends with me, she would rather die now than face our ancestors in shame. But to touch another woman... He looked up, his eyes filled with pain and conflict. It is worse than being cut by 1,000 knives. I tenderly wiped the tears from his eyes. Husband, are you truly unwilling to take a concubine? He immediately raised his hand and swore, his gaze firm. My heart has only you. I would rather die than touch another woman. I believe you. I squeezed his hand, my voice even gentler. I have a way to solve this for both of us. Shen Yunshuo's eyes lit up. What is it? I looked at him with pity. It is just that. You will have to suffer a little. That is nothing, he interrupted passionately. As long as I can have you, and only you for a lifetime, I will gladly endure any pain. You said it yourself. I smiled slightly and waved my hand. A shadow guard appeared silently and struck him on the neck. Shen Yunshuo grunted and fell onto the bed. The guard presented the gelding knife and medicines that had been prepared. I caressed his unconscious face and whispered, "Guard the courtyard. Do not let a single fly in." These past few days, I had thought everything through. My husband must love me. He knew my mother had died in childbirth and, fearing I would suffer the same fate, had endured the pain of giving me the infertility potion. That Yanar was nothing but a vessel. Those heart-wrenching words were surely not what he meant. Because of this damnable issue of an heir, my husband had suffered too much. I could not bear children, so they forced him to. But what if my husband could not have children either? All problems would naturally be solved. I had the guard tie Shen Yunshuo's limbs firmly to the bed. The ox tendon ropes dug deep into his flesh. This way, even if he woke up and struggled, he would not harm himself. I gently pried open his mouth and placed a slice of 100-year-old ginseng under his tongue to keep him alive. Then I carefully stuffed his mouth with a soft cloth. I couldn't have him biting off his tongue in agony. I had specifically asked the guard to select the sharpest set of instruments from the castration room. The blade was as thin as a cicada's wing. It was said that the cut was so swift, blood did not even have time to spill. I slowly removed my husband's silk trousers. My gaze fell on the ugly thing. It was this thing that had caused my husband so much suffering. The thought made me grit my teeth. And so, I aimed for his groin, hand up. Root down. Arr! Shen Yunshuo woke with a scream. His eyes bulged and a muffled, agonizing howl escaped his gagged mouth. He thrashed wildly, but the ropes held him fast. I gently wiped the cold sweat from his forehead with a silk handkerchief. Just a little longer. Husband, it will be over soon. I soothed him as I sprinkled medicinal powder on the gushing wound. The moment the powder touched the wound, his body convulsed violently, and tears and sweat soaked the pillow. This is the finest wound powder from the Imperial Hospital, I murmured, carefully applying the medicine. From now on, you will never have to worry about an heir again. He shook his head frantically, his eyes filled with despair. I leaned down and gently kissed the tears from his eyes. I picked up the piece of flesh from the floor and dangled it before him. Would you like to keep this as a memento? Seeing his bloodshot eyes, I sighed. Never mind such a filthy thing, Laifu. The little black dog ran over, wagging its tail. I tossed the thing, and it pounced, tearing at it hungrily. A choked, inhuman sound came from Shen Yunshuo's throat. His eyes rolled back, and he fainted. I announced that Shen Yunshuo had accidentally fallen and injured his leg, and needed to rest for some time. These past few days, I stayed by his side day and night, changing his bandages myself. Under my meticulous care, the wound on his groin healed quickly, and the surface began to close. But his body, weakened by the ordeal, developed a high fever. It seemed to have damaged his mind. He would always glare at me with a murderous look, and he called me a venomous woman. He called me a viper. He cursed me to a horrible death. Every word was poison, every sentence a stab to the heart. It made me so sad, so hurt. My husband, who used to feel pained even when I frowned, had never said a harsh word to me. Once a drunkard had slandered me. Me, gentle, scholarly husband had chased him for 10 streets with a sword. But now, he was cursing me. He must be possessed by some evil spirit. I had heard that those possessed needed intense pain to be awakened, and so, every time he cursed me, I would cry and slap him. Husband, wake up. The more vicious his curses, the harder I struck. Husband, look at me, it is Aluin, your beloved Aluin. Tears blurred my vision, and I lost control of my strength. When I came to my senses, my husband's cheeks were swollen, and blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. 2 broken teeth lay on the brocade quilt, mixed with blood. It is all my fault. I tenderly wiped the blood from his lips, my fingertips trembling. It must hurt so much, husband. I immediately had someone bring a basin of ice water. As I pressed his head into the water, I whispered, "Your face is so swollen. It needs a good cold compress." Glug, 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 a string of desperate bubbles rose to the surface. Just as he was about to suffocate, I quickly pulled him up. Cough, cough, you venomous woman. He was shaking from the cold, his lips purple, coughing violently, but still cursing. The evil spirit was still inside him. Husband, do not worry. I will save you! I pushed his head back into the water. He struggled frantically, splashing water everywhere. Watching this scene, I remembered the time I had fallen into the water years ago. My husband, who could not swim, had jumped in without hesitation to save me. Later, I had managed to drag him to shore. He had been just as pale then. Almost, at that time, he would have rather drowned himself than let me die. Now, I would rather die of a broken heart than fail to awaken him. This must be love. My mother-in-law came again, uninvited. As usual, I had her stopped at the courtyard gate. When she saw the dying Shen Yunshuo on the bed, the color drained from her face, and she froze as if struck by lightning. "Shuar, what has happened to you?" She stumbled to the bedside. Her cries stopped abruptly when she saw the layers of white bandages on his groin. What is this? What has happened?" She whipped her head around and glared at me, her eyes murderous. "You said he only hurt his leg." Tears instantly welled up in my eyes. "Mother, do you not know? A man's third leg is still a leg." I threw myself on the bed, caressing Shen Yunshuo's face, sobbing. "If not for you threatening him with death, insisting he take a concubine to continue the family line, how could my husband have? How could he have been so cruel as to castrate himself? Caught between you and me, he chose to harm himself. Mother, it was all your doing. Give me back my husband." My mother-in-law seemed to have lost all her strength. She stumbled back, shaking her head in disbelief. "Impossible. Sure would never." Suddenly, as if she understood, she pointed at me and shrieked, "It was you, you venomous woman." I gently took her pointing finger. As she stared in horror, I slowly squeezed. Crack! The sound of bone breaking was crisp and clear. "Mother," I released her, watching her face contort in pain, my voice ice cold. "I call you mother out of respect for my husband, but you had best remember your place, and mine." I took a step closer, my presence menacing. "The one to blame for all of this is you. Because of your jealousy, you could not tolerate the Duke taking a concubine, and so the Shen family dwindled to a single heir. Because of your stubbornness, you threatened him with death, forcing him to take a concubine. In his despair, he chose to sever his own lineage. Mother, you are the sinner of the Shen family. How can you face the ancestors?" I shook my head in disappointment, as if looking at someone beyond saving. Mother, please go to the ancestral hall and repent. How dare you twist the truth? And you want to imprison me. She trembled with rage, struggling to lunge at me. I waved my hand, and the shadow guard stepped forward. Take her away, I said calmly. Have her copy the rules for women in the ancestral hall to calm her mind. Watching her contorted, snarling face as she was dragged away, I couldn't help but sigh. Since marrying Shen Yunshuo, I had shed all my sharp edges and learned to be a gentle, submissive wife. I had let them forget in that man-eating palace. If I had not been ruthless enough, how could I have protected my young brother and helped him ascend the throne? My hands were stained with the blood of countless people, though the plaque above the gate read, Shen Residence. This entire estate was a gift from the emperor, a princess's residence. I was the only true master here. I touched the jade pendant at my waist, a gift from the emperor, and my lips curved into a slight smile. It seemed it was time to remind them. Shen Yunshuo was awakened by the commotion. He still looked at me with a fierce, venomous glare, as if he wanted to devour me whole. I leaned down, my fingertips gently brushing his trembling eyelids. I looked down at him, my voice cold. Number, I sighed softly. My husband would never look at me with such eyes. My fingers traced the corner of his eye, feeling his uncontrollable shiver. Since these eyes have been sullied, I murmured, then they should be gouged out. Aluin, no, it is me! It is me! He screamed in terror, tears streaming down his face. My fingertips stopped at his eyeball, gently caressing it. Husband, is it really you? He nodded frantically, tears of fear continuing to fall. I tenderly wiped them away, my gaze slowly moving down to his lower body. You will not blame me for this method, will you, husband? He shook his head in terror, his lips trembling, unable to speak. That is good. I smiled and tucked him in. I have already explained to Mother. It was her threats that forced you to castrate yourself. She is now in the ancestral hall reflecting. His pupils constricted and his eyes widened in disbelief. Do not worry. I gently pressed my fingers to his lips. I have only told Mother after all. I leaned close to his ear, my breath caressing his pale face. A eunuch cannot hold office. It was not easy for you to climb to your current position, if word got out. I straightened up, looking at his ashen face with a sweet smile. If anyone dares to breathe a word of this, I will execute their entire clan. His face was a mask of green and white, a truly spectacular sight. By tradition, a princess's husband could not hold a court position, but I was the eldest princess of the dynasty, second only to the emperor. It was only out of affection for me that the emperor had made an exception and given him this opportunity. For him, I had hidden my fangs and willingly confined myself to the inner quarters. Looking back now, how laughable. In the imperial study, the young emperor sat behind his desk, his brow already holding an air of indisputable authority. He dismissed his attendants, and only after the doors were closed did he sigh. Imperial sister, how much longer will you hide this from me? I set down my teacup and looked at him. You know everything. And so, I told him about the poison, the mistress, everything. How dare he do this to you? The emperor shot to his feet, his eyes blazing with fury. I will have him cut into 1,000 pieces. Imperial sister, you have given so much for him, and yet he... I raised my hand to stop him. Do not blame him, I said calmly. I chose this path myself. I will bear the consequences. Besides, my body has long been ruined. His little infertility potion was but a drop in the ocean. One more or less makes no difference. Hearing this, the emperor's body shook, and his eyes filled with pain. Imperial sister, if not for me, you would never have suffered so. I took a stack of secret letters from my sleeve and pushed them toward him. These past few days, I have been wondering why he would do this to me. It turns out he has a powerful backer who has made him a greater promise. He did not just poison me, he also obtained smallpox pus and smeared it on the inside of the shoes I made for you. At this, my voice turned icy. The person behind this is the Prince of Cheng. The Emperor's fist clenched. How do you wish to handle this, Imperial Sister? I walked to his side and gently smoothed the wrinkles on his dragon robe. My husband was merely foolish for a moment. A cruel smile touched my lips. I will watch him closely. As for those who incited him, I will make them understand the meaning of a life worse than death. The Emperor stared at me for a long time, the anger in his eyes slowly turning to resolve. He took my hand. Imperial Sister, whatever you wish to do, I will always stand by you. In this world, no one will ever bully you again. I smiled and ruffled his hair, just as I had when he was a child. Your Imperial Sister will not be so easily bullied, he said no more. He simply summoned an attendant in a low voice. A moment later, a squad of shadow guards knelt before him. From this day forward, you will obey only the commands of the eldest princess. It was late when I returned to the Shen residence. Shen Yunshuo was already able to stand, leaning against the bedpost. The candlelight cast his pale face in light and shadow. Aluan. He looked up at me, the venom in his eyes gone, replaced by a cautious attempt to please. I am sorry. I was not myself before. His voice was raspy. Can we live well together from now on? I went to him and took his hand, my eyes filling with touched tears. Husband, you truly do not blame me. My gaze swept over the bandages on his groin. His body stiffened almost imperceptibly. Then he forced himself to relax and managed a pained smile. The method was a bit extreme, and hard for me to bear at first, but on reflection, it is a permanent solution. And mother, I let my voice fill with concern. I will tell her, he said quickly. It was I who, under unbearable pressure, impulsively harmed myself. It has nothing to do with you, Aluan. He paused, his eyes pleading. I only ask that you cover this up for me. I truly do not want others to look at me differently, to think that this incomplete body is no longer worthy of you. I hugged him joyfully, feeling the tremor in his thin body. I am so happy that you think this way, husband. He was silent for a moment, then said timidly, Then, Aluan, can you release mother? She is old, and the ancestral hall is cold. Of course, I said, smiling and caressing his cold cheek. Since you have asked, how could I refuse? Soon, it was my birthday. The residence was decorated with lanterns and colored silks, filled with guests. I smiled as I accepted their congratulations. Shen Yunshuo stood by my side, serving me food and pouring my wine, his every move attentive and thoughtful. Whispers of envy came from the female guests. The princess and the duke are as loving as ever. To be so affectionate after 3 years of marriage is truly enviable. At the height of the banquet, a figure suddenly burst in. My personal maid, Yinlian, rushed forward to apologize. Forgive me, Your Highness. This woman came to the gate with the duke's personal jade pendant, claiming to be his mistress. I was going to take her to a side courtyard to wait, but she forced her way in. The hall erupted in an uproar. The woman rushed toward Shen Yunshuo, grabbing his sleeve with teary eyes. Cousin! Shen Yunshuo's face changed dramatically, and he pushed her away. Who are you? I do not know you. He turned to me, his face pale, and explained frantically. Aluan, believe me, I have never seen this woman before. I patted his hand. I naturally trust my husband's character. The emperor, seated at the head of the hall, was furious. Insolent commoner. How dare you trespass at the princess's birthday banquet? Men drag her out and give her 30 strokes of the cane. The woman trembled and cried out, Cousin, I am carrying your child. The hall fell into a stunned silence. The news of my infertility had long since spread throughout the capital. All eyes darted between Shen Yunshuo and the woman, filled with undisguised curiosity. The emperor was enraged. Duke, is what this woman says true? Sweat beaded on Shen Yunshuo's forehead. He swayed on his feet. This was his only bloodline. But facing the emperor's wrath, he could only deny it through gritted teeth. Your Majesty, I truly do not know this woman. Perhaps she is distraught and has mistaken me for her husband. He shot the woman a warning look. But she seemed not to understand, holding up the jade pendant and sobbing. How can you say you do not know me? You gave me this pendant yourself. You said you would welcome me into the residence in grand style once I was with child. You also said, before she could finish. Shen Yunshuo slapped her hard across the face. Do not speak such nonsense. I gently tugged his sleeve, my voice soft. Husband, I of course believe you, but rumors can be damaging. To prove your innocence, why not carry out the punishment yourself? Shen Yunshuo froze, his face filled with reluctance. Aluan, today is your birthday. On such a joyous occasion, why bother with a mad woman? Let us just have her thrown out. My eyes suddenly turned cold. Have you forgotten, husband, that His Majesty has already ordered the punishment? Your repeated delays. Are you planning to defy an imperial edict? The emperor timely raised his eyes, his gaze icy. Duke, why have you not acted? Could it be that what this woman says is true? Shen Yunshuo's face was ashen. He took the cane with trembling hands. The wooden staff shook in his grasp, almost slipping from his fingers. He moved slowly toward the woman. Cousin! She clutched her belly, tears streaming down her face. Are you truly going to kill our child with your own hands? The cane was raised high, but it trembled in mid-air, refusing to fall. The veins on Shen Yunshuo's forehead bulged. Ah! He closed his eyes, gritted his teeth, and brought the cane down. The woman's shrill scream echoed through the courtyard. 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3. With each blow, her cries grew more agonizing. Blood slowly stained her pale dress, blooming like crimson plum blossoms on the ground. She futilely protected her belly, her nails clawing bloody marks on the ground. My child, my child. After 30 strokes, the woman's lower body was a bloody mess. She was no longer breathing. I waved my hand in disgust. Drag her away. Do not dirty this place. Shen Yunshuo stood there, dazed. The cane fell with a clatter. He stared blankly at the bloody figure being dragged away, as if his soul had been ripped from his body. I took out a silk handkerchief and gently wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. I will remember your actions today, husband. He shuddered violently, his fingertips trembling. I pretended not to notice. I raised my wine cup to the guests. Everyone, that was merely a bit of entertainment. Please continue to drink and enjoy yourselves. The crystal cups clinked together, a clear, crisp sound. The smell of blood still hung in the air, but the music had already begun again. During Shen Yunshuo's recovery, we were inseparable. The story of the eldest princess and the duke's unwavering love spread throughout the capital. During this time, Li Shuyan discovered she was pregnant. She sent a flurry of letters to the residents, from initial sweet nothings to later desperate pleas. In just half a month, she sent 12 letters, but all of them fell into my hands. I had someone imitate Shen Yunshuo's handwriting and sent a reply. Yaner, this child must not be kept. The princess's love for me is deep, and I cannot betray her. Take this silver, drink this safflower, and leave the capital immediately. Never return. With the letter, I sent 1,000 silver note and a packet of abortifacient herbs. I had originally thought that if she was willing to leave, I could spare her life. However, Li Shuyan was more persistent than I imagined. Not only did she refuse to leave, but she also hid near the residence, looking for a chance to meet Shen Yunshuo. In that case, she could not blame me for being ruthless. I chose 3 sharp-tongued maids and had them gossip at the gate every day. Did you see the way the Duke drew the princess's eyebrows yesterday? So gentle and attentive? Not just that. He has to hold her hand even at meals, as if he is afraid she won't eat enough. I heard the Duke started planning this birthday banquet a month in advance, even personally tasting every dish. Jealousy and resentment completely consumed Li Shuyan's reason. Finally, she could no longer bear it. Clutching the jade pendant, she came to the princess's residence. A month later, in the throne room, the emperor suddenly fainted during the morning court session. The hall descended into chaos. The physicians diagnosed smallpox. The imperial guard was ordered to investigate. In the end, in the lining of the court boots I had personally sewn, they found cotton soaked in smallpox pus. The court was in an uproar. At this very moment, Shen Yunshuo, in a great show of righteousness, publicly accused me of treason and rebellion. He tearfully recounted how he had endured humiliation to secretly gather evidence of my crimes. The imperial guard rushed in and surrounded me. In the flickering torchlight, Shen Yunshuo walked up to me, all pretense gone, his eyes filled with undisguised hatred. Husband. I stumbled forward, my eyes brimming with tears. Why are you doing this to me? He burst into laughter, a triumphant sound. You venomous woman! Did you think of this day when you ended my Shen family line, but you said you only loved me? My voice was broken, pitiful. Love you. He sneered and tore open my collar, revealing the old scars on my neck and shoulders. This body, sullied by eunuchs. I feel sick every time I touch you. If not for your status as the eldest princess, I wouldn't even deign to look at you. I raised my head defiantly. My brother will recover, and I will still be the noble eldest princess. Your dear brother? He grabbed my chin and whispered in my ear. Who do you think helped you stuff that smallpox-soaked cotton into the sole of his shoe? Seeing my face turn pale, he laughed even more wildly. Having your most beloved brother accompany you in death, are you satisfied with this grand gift? Just then, the sky over the imperial city lit up with flames, turning half the night red. He pointed excitedly at the bloody glow. Look, the Prince of Cheng is sending your useless brother on his way. From now on, you are nothing. His fingers slowly traced my neck. The Prince of Cheng has given me leave to dispose of you as I wish. Tell me, should I turn you into a human swine and keep you in a jar, or should I chop you up and feed you to the dogs? A flash of cold steel. His laughter died. Husband. I wiped the blood that had spattered on my lips, my voice still gentle. You talk too much. Shen Yunshuo looked down in disbelief. The dagger was buried in his chest, and blood was gushing out. Husband, thank you for playing this part with me to the end. I slowly twisted the handle, feeling the flesh tear beneath the blade. Shen Yunshuo's body convulsed in pain. I leaned close to his ear and whispered, if not for you, how would that old fox, the Prince of Cheng, have been so eager to rebel? You, since when? With every word he spoke, blood frothed at his lips. Was it when you gave me the infertility potion? I laughed softly. Actually, you did not need to go to such trouble. My body has long been ruined. I could never have children in this life. My lips brushed against his cold ear. Husband, you are so foolish. With his last breath, Shen Yunshuo roared at the men behind him. What are you waiting for?